All right, let's dive into something pretty fascinating. We're going to explore a Gnostic teaching that, well, claims to hold the key to complete spiritual protection. And it all centers on this one single powerful object that you can actually create yourself. The story goes that this thing was so effective, so powerful, that it was deliberately, systematically erased from history. So check this out. This one line from an interpretation of the Gospel of Philip, this is our central clue. The argument here is that this isn't just poetry. No, it's a literal instruction. It's a technique that the early church supposedly spent centuries trying to suppress, a secret to neutralizing what are called archon attacks. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to break it all down. First, we'll get into why this secret was seen as so dangerous. Then, we're going to identify the 5 specific types of spiritual interference it's supposed to block. After that, we'll explore this whole idea of protection through frequency, reveal the forbidden object itself, walk you through exactly how to create it, and finally, we'll cover the transformation that's promised to anyone who actually uses it. Now, what's so wild about this claim is that it's a total departure from what you might expect. The thinking is that the early Gnostics didn't bother with a bunch of complex rituals or carry around multiple amulets. Nope, they used one single, easily made object for what they believed was complete protection. And get this, its very simplicity is supposedly why it was considered such a massive threat. So, what exactly does this object protect you from? Well, according to this teaching, it's all about these 5 distinct methods of attack that are used by what they call archons to harvest our energy. And the idea is, once you can spot these patterns in your own life, the effects of the protection become, well, pretty much undeniable. All right, let's break down these 5 forms of attack. First up, you've got mental assault. You know what I'm talking about. Those intrusive thoughts, those anxiety spirals that just pop into your head out of nowhere and totally take over. Then there's emotional hijacking. That's when a sudden, overwhelming wave of, say, rage or despair just washes over you and it just doesn't fit the situation at all. Third is energy drain. This is that feeling of being completely exhausted all the time, no matter how much you rest. Number 4 is dream manipulation. We're talking about those hyper-real nightmares or maybe never being able to remember your dreams at all. And finally, we have synchronicity interference. This is that frustrating pattern of just bad luck, where good things almost happen, but then they fall apart at the very last second. Now, the core principle behind this is really interesting. This isn't about some kind of spiritual warfare. The whole concept is built on a hierarchy of frequency. And to really get it, we need to take a quick look at the cosmology that this source material lays out. So right at the very top of everything, you have what's called the monad. In this belief system, the monad is the ultimate source. Think of it as pure infinite consciousness. It's the absolute highest frequency possible, and it's where everything comes from. Okay, so downstream from the monad, you have this being called the demiurge. The text describes this demiurge as a kind of lesser creator who, because it can't even perceive the higher realms of the monad, makes a huge mistake. It declares itself the one true God. And then it goes on to create the material world, which, you guessed it, operates at a much, much lower and denser frequency. And who serves this demiurge? The archons. These are the agents of attack we were just talking about. And here's the crucial point. They are several levels removed from that original, pure source. They are completely bound by the low-frequency reality created by their boss, the demiurge. Okay, and this next part illustrates the whole idea so perfectly. The source uses this great analogy. Think of the monad's frequency like UV light and the archon's frequency like bacteria. Now, the UV light doesn't fight the bacteria, right? Its high-frequency environment just makes it impossible for the bacteria to survive. They just dissolve. It's the same principle here. A high-frequency energy field doesn't have to block low-frequency attacks. It just creates an environment where they literally cannot exist. Which, of course, brings us to the central mystery. What is this one object? Something made by human hands that can supposedly broadcast this high protective frequency of the monad, and in doing so, make a person's own energy field completely uninhabitable for these lower influences. I mean, the teaching really builds us up as a profound secret, something that was suppressed precisely because it was so powerful and yet so simple. It claims this one object makes all 5 of those attacks we talked about just dissolve on contact. So, what is it? Here it is. It's a piece of paper with a true name of the monad written on it in your own handwriting. That's it. It's not that the paper itself is magical. No, the power, according to this teaching, is in its function.
It acts as a permanent frequency transmitter, anchoring that highest vibration right here into physical form.
And this part is absolutely key. It has to be handwritten. Why? Well, the source argues that printing something out is just a dead mechanical act. But when you write it yourself with conscious intent, you're actually transferring your own bioelectric energy, your life force, through the pen and onto the paper. Your handwriting becomes the activation ritual. It turns a plain, inert object into a living frequency anchor. So this teaching doesn't just leave you with the theory. It gives you very specific, very practical instructions for how to create and activate this object for yourself. So let's walk through that process right now. It's all laid out in 6 really simple steps. First, you prepare. Just sit down with a clean piece of paper and a black ink pen and take a few deep breaths to get focused. Second, you draw a circle right in the middle, representing that infinite monad consciousness. Third, inside that circle, you write the word monad in your own native language. Step 4 is to activate it. You hold the paper over your heart for about 30 seconds and you declare out loud, "This name recognizes me." Fifth, you seal it by folding the paper 3 times. And finally, step 6, you carry it with you, all the time, in your pocket, your wallet, a bag, whatever works. Okay, so now we get to the payoff. What actually happens? The source material is super specific about the timeline and the real, tangible effects a person can expect once they create and start carrying this object. And it claims the changes aren't just subtle, they're dramatic, and they happen fast. So within just 24 hours, it claims you'll notice that internal mental chatter just quiets down. That's the mental assault being neutralized. Then, within 3 days, you might notice that people who usually drain your energy just kind of lose interest and drift away. That's countering the energy drain. In 1 week, your sleep is said to totally transform, putting an end to dream manipulation. And within 2 weeks, synchronicities are supposed to return. You know, that beneficial timing, those good opportunities start popping up again, which reverses the synchronicity interference. You can see how each effect is directly tied to neutralizing one of those specific attacks. And that really brings us to the core of it all. The idea this teaching presents is incredibly powerful and definitely provocative. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, true spiritual sovereignty isn't some complex, endless battle. Maybe it's just a simple shift in frequency, one that's accessible to literally anyone with a pen, a piece of paper, and about 10 minutes of focused intent. Really makes you think, doesn't it? Could it actually be that simple?